Hey everyone, want concrete black and white evidence of how extensive the Minnesota welfare fraud scandal is? All right, let's do it. Hey everyone, I'm Rich Lowry of National Review, and that was the front page of an FBI search warrant that was unsealed as part of a press conference from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minneapolis just a couple of weeks ago. That office has done tremendous work for years unraveling this scandal and prosecuting the malefactors. Also, I became aware of the search warrant through the coverage of the blog Powerline, Minnesota-based outfit that has also been covering the scandal and doing yeoman's work on it for a very long time. Just one last preliminary before we really go into it. There are not going to be a lot of interesting video clips in the course of this video or a lot of compelling images. That's not what search warrants are about. There's a couple images at the end of this one, but they're not great images, so we're not going to see them. So a lot of text, a lot of numbers. I think they're important to focus on, but I just want to set expectations here right at the beginning. And clearly the U.S. Attorney's Office released this search warrant to provide a roadmap to the public about the abuse of these programs. You might be vaguely familiar of some of these numbers, but I think it's really important to focus on them in detail. It is stunning. Now, the search warrant involved an allegedly fraudulent concern called Ultimate Home Health Services, a very anodyne name, right? But in the context of Minneapolis, takes on a sinister cast, and it involved defrauding something called the Integrated Community Supports Program, a Minnesota medical assistance benefit. There's a lady that the search warrant refers to as Kelly R. She was having some trouble, needed some help, begins to live in a building run by this outfit. She's unemployed when she starts to live there. Then, good for her, she gets a full-time job. Her only interaction with this outfit is she will say hello to the person at the front desk who sometimes isn't even there, and very occasionally someone will knock on her door to check on her. That's it. But Ultimate Home Health Services represents it that over a 447-day period, it was providing services to her every single day except for 4. Unbeknownst to her, she had no idea this is what they were representing to the authorities, and that is worth $166,000. Just that one client or supposed client over that period of a little more than a year. Now you take that same mode of operating it and you apply it to multiple clients. Soon you're talking about real money. There's supposedly 13 clients during this period of time, and this outfit bills for reimbursements totaling $1.1 million. Okay, $1 million in alleged fraud is bad, very bad, but doesn't necessarily shock the conscience the way it used to, right?
We hold the world ransom for $1 million.
But if you get a lot of people doing this, the numbers add up in a shocking way. Take a look at this table. These are the numbers for the ICS program that Ultimate Home Health Services was taking advantage of. These numbers show that initially in 2021, this program was paying out $4.6 million, but by 2024, 3 years later, it's paying out $170 million. Now you make some allowance for growth, right, in a new program, but something smells fishy there, right? 4.6 to 170. Then you have this dynamic playing out in a whole bunch of other programs. By now, most of us have probably heard of something called Feeding Our Future, an almost entirely fraudulent nutrition program. Look at these numbers. It goes from $300,000 in funding in 18 to 3.4 in 19, and then from 19 to 21, from 3.4 to nearly $200 million. Something called Partners in Nutrition, a similarly fraudulent outfit, has the same kind of growth. 2019, $5.6 million to nearly $180 million just 2 short years later. Now, a lot of these people didn't have the decency just to steal from one government program. No, the investigation established that if you're in on the nutrition fraud, you happened also to be running an autism or another healthcare service. Check this out. Now, these kind of programs are called Early Intensive Developmental and Behavioral Intervention Services, or EIDBI. The search warrant breaks down the numbers here too. 2019, $20 million total paid, these kind of services. By 2024, $342 million. And look at the numbers at the bottom here for the total billed for these services, more than $2 billion across this period. Total paid, more than $1 billion. There's another one. Housing stabilization services. The Minnesota Department of Human Services initially estimates, maybe this program will cost $2.6 million a year. This one goes from $27 million in 21 to more than $100 million in 2024. Different program, same story. There's such a thing as a speaking indictment, so-called, that sets out a really compelling narrative and story. This is a speaking search warrant, and this is not idle speculation. This is not exaggeration on the internet. These are cold, hard facts set out by professionals who have the goods. I'm Rich Lowry, over and out.